Welcome viewers to Umeshare Podcast. Umeshare Podcast has gone video. Can you imagine that? We are now live on video. We have been there on audio for 40 weeks in the year 2023. And in this year 2024, now we are back with Umeshare. We call it Umeshare 2.0 on video. We are so glad to have Orenge back on Umeshare.
Yeah.
When Umeshare was on audio, you really held it down for us, discussing the whole topic about drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
But you soon corrected us and said it's just the whole
It's
thing
just
about
drugs.
drugs. It's just drugs.
drugs. There's no drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
It's drugs.
So, Orenge, can you imagine, man? This is episode 41. This is it's gonna go on audio. Okay.
Yeah.
But then on video, this is the first episode.
First episode. Woo.
So you're a really, really special guest.
Thank you.
And karibu sana to Umeshare. Yeah, how have you been, man?
I'm good. Last time I was here, I think I had 4 kids. Now I have 5. Did I have 5?
Oh, man. Hata hiyo hukuniambia hiyo.
Yeah,
boy or girl?
I have another boy. So I have 4 boys, 1 girl.
Wow. That house is full of testosterone, brother.
Woo.
Hey, bro.
You guys have
Yeah,
work.
you've added one more male lion to the Orenge family.
Today I give God, I imagine what I ask God, what are you thinking?
Amazing, congratulations! I'm really happy for you. You said 1 year now, or is almost?
No, he's 3 months. He's 3
Okay.
months. We call him Shangwe.
Shangwe. Oh, lovely name.
Shangwe.
Lovely name. Hey, Mazi, boss, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very proud of you, man.
Yeah.
So Renge, at Umeshare, normally what we discuss is topics that ail people who are especially in their midlife season.
Yeah.
So anyone from age 30 to age 55, that midlife season is such a critical season of their life. There are so many building blocks that will enable them to actually venture beyond age 55 into their twilight years as a successful man or woman. So it depends on how they sail through this midlife season. So I'm really glad that you're here, and Umeshare has come a long way. Video is the way to go. I believe that's the way to go because we'll reach more masses on audio. Thank God for the 40 episodes that we did last year. It reached the masses, but I feel like with this video podcast, it will actually reach the intended people. And our work is simple here. We just want to address issues that are ailing men. So we're here to speak life as men. We're here to speak life over our children, over women, to other men, and even just to each other as hosts, just to be able to understand what are the things that we can be able to be accountable in terms of information and share all that information to the intended parties. So
Absolutely.
last time when you were on Umeshare, you gave us a very remarkable story about the area of drug addiction.
Yeah.
And just before we discuss about drug addiction, what do you do? I mean, just
Myself,
just
what I
introduce-
do.
Just introduce yourself and tell us
All right.
who you are.
Currently, so what I do for a living. I forgot it's important to say who I am. First of all, of course, I'm a born again Christian. Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
That is an unrefutable truth in my life.
Amen.
Now, what I do, I'm a voiceover artist.
Okay.
I've been trying it for too long, but since my recovery journey, it picked up. So I'm a voiceover artist. I am also a recovery champion. I work with people who are battling addiction, currently doing a bit of studies so I can venture into that space. I'm also a public speaker coach and also a wellness coach. Do a lot of mentorship also in the area of men. And I believe God, it's such an honor to be used of God. I believe there's impact out there. And even for you guys here to Umeshare, the numbers you see are just the numbers you know, but I know the impact is big. It's bigger than you can even imagine.
We are grateful towards that. You mentioned addiction. So what type of addiction mainly are you focusing on? You're saying recovery champion, especially guys who've gone through addiction. So
I've primarily, it stems from my story to do with alcoholism.
oh, okay.
Yeah, primarily. But Kurama, there are many other addictions we have. The hardest one was pornography.
Yeah, so there's sexual addictions, there's drug addiction.
Yes.
You were correcting us earlier when you said it's
not drug and alcohol.
We kind of make sure that alcohol, when you mentioned alcohol addiction,
yes,
for you it's the same thing.
It's drugs.
Drug and alcohol is
the same
drug
thing.
Addiction.
Whatever happens in the brain, the same thing happens with alcohol. There's no difference.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
So it's a drug.
It's a drug. Okay. So, so when you talk about being a recovery champion, is that something that you've decided to do professionally to actually help those guys in drug addiction?
Yeah.
Through a recovery program, or how does it work?
Yeah. As of now, I am basically just help. The problem is, I was having a conversation with Kenji here, and he was asking, how do we help people who are stuck in alcoholism, people who are stuck in substance use disorder? And I said, the problem is society doesn't have knowledge on what alcoholism is. We only judge based on the outward reaction, how people behave after taking in the substance or even getting hooked to it.
Yes.
So one of the things I do as a recovery champion is to try and educate the public about what is really going on behind the scenes. So they could have an understanding of what's going on. So they don't only judge the individual from the reaction of the substance, but also having knowledge. Once you have that knowledge, you even, for somebody who is stuck in it, you shift the blame from you to the drug. You get? Once you can do that, then you can get help.
Okay.
But as long as the blame is still stuck on you, it's a bit hard. So I strive to educate people, and I strive to go and create an environment for anybody who is stuck in the whatever substance it is to get the necessary help.
Okay.
So currently I'm also trying to do just a bit of studies to see where God will lead me in that space. Yeah. So
okay, that's really awesome. Really just
I really don't know where it's going to head towards.
But already I can tell you're onto something. When we talk about addictions, of course, even in our age group, there's a lot of people who are going through this in terms of drug and alcohol addiction.
Yes.
And the problem stems, to me, according to what I see, is there are other underlying issues that probably they're trying to suppress. There are probably childhood issues. There could be stress-related, depressive states that they're trying to mask. Escape from. Yes. So for me, I think when you talk about drug addiction, it just doesn't start like that. No one just starts being addicted to drugs. So it's a process that takes you over a period of time. And then you can be told now, you go to a certain forum or seeing even a doctor, you'll be told you're actually hooked into this lifestyle. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes part of you. But before we get deep into addictions, I just wanted us to look at what are some of the reasons that make people get into drugs. And I know you can actually be able to play this and tell us a story of your own personal stories, your own personal encounters with this. What really is ailing people? What are they really looking for? Do they actually know that they're going to falling into an addiction? Maybe you can just decode that for us a bit. So, drug addiction. How do people find themselves there?
Well, I'm still studying, so I'll try and say to the best of my knowledge, based on, as you said, from my experience. So I've gotten to study myself. There is a notion, or it's a school of thought that says particular genes, people with particular genes are predisposed. I'm not going to argue with that, but one truth I've come to realize with myself is, when you start using drugs, let's just say drugs and alcohol, because the community is not yet ready for drugs alone. You can say drugs and alcohol.
Even me, I'm not ready for that. I also know for that.
I'm reading this book by a lady called Annie Grace called This Naked Mind, and she says immediately you start consuming, substance. Where she says, when you look at a homeless person on the street begging for food, and you can see him holding a brown bag, and that brown bag led to who he is.
Yeah.
People think that they can never get there. And this person, at a particular point in his life, was a young, vibrant university student.
Yeah.
So how does one get from there to there? Now, I like her analogy of a pitcher plant, that as soon as you start taking any sort of substance, you're like a fly in a pitcher plant, slowly going down a descent. So for others, it may be faster. For others, it may be slower. For others, in between, they might know this is not good and take off, cut off that life. So for me, I think some of the things that contributed for me to get into the addiction faster, or not even the addiction, because many people are addicted, but they don't know. Let's just say for me to get to dependency, or rock bottom, or evidently
where it became
addicted.
a lifestyle.
Yes. Where you can see this person has a problem, is addicted. Things that contributed to it, number one, is my character. I'm an extrovert. I'm life of the party.
Outgoing,
always
extrovert.
trying. And that thing is it's a high. You always want to maintain attention.
So there's a deeper sense of wanting to connect with other people.
Yes, and wanting the affirmation. Then secondly, I feel strongly in my heart that there was a space for affirmation that was not totally or properly covered as I was growing up. So as soon as I met a particular group of people that were able to feel that, I felt loved. And so I did everything to make sure I fit in. And that would even mean going to some particular extremes.
And just to pause there, I think that particular thing you've just said there, that willingness to want and to hunger to connect with people, to feel accepted and to feel affirmed, probably filling in a gap that was not there when you were growing up, is similar to what happens with other addictions.
Exactly.
So I mean, that whole thread plays also when you look at pornography, when you look at sex addiction, when you look at gambling and gaming addictions. When you look at workaholism also as an addiction. So it's a deeper longing to want to be accepted, to be affirmed, to be meaningful, or to be seen as a significant person. Among others.
Remember what I told that line I gave you? I don't know if you remember it. The one, there is no chemical solution to a spiritual problem, but a spiritual solution to a chemical problem.
So you need to slow down and say it properly. So there is no chemical solution to a spiritual problem,
but there is a spiritual solution to a chemical problem.
Let's just finish this show there. I think that is it. We need to move on. That is a punchline, heavy, very expensive line.
So you see, people
have had that.
People are busy trying to solve spiritual issues with substance.
Little that they don't know, they are going deeper
down
and deeper,
a slippery slope.
like what the author of that book was saying.
Descending. They're slowly descending. Others will descend faster, others are descending slowly. And she gives this other analogy that is beautiful, that substance, in this case I can say alcohol, is like a new home that is up for sale. So the people selling it have baked cookies. So we all come and we love the smell of the house and we go into it. So as we are looking in the house, everybody's looking, trying to understand how the house, admiring the beauty. You get to a point where you want to get out, and as you open doors, you're leading to corridors. You can't get
the whole maze.
So now that's somebody now who realizes I have a problem. But as he's looking around, the rest are still enjoying the house. So I thank God I was able to he was able to help me find the way out of that house. But you see, the thing is, even if I am out of the house, it's a bit hard to explain to other people that don't go into that house. But having been in that house, I believe God has given me an edge to be able to say something about it to help people not get in.
Amazing. So for you, what you're saying is that the spiritual medicine has actually helped you overcome that chemical
problem.
The
Yes.
chemical problem that you're having.
Yeah.
So without God for you,
you know, the things that I love, like what we normally do, Bible study, your identity is confirmed in God's word, you know. Some of the challenges, even with people after you get treatment, is that you still have identity issues. So when you come outside, you feel, I'm a loser, I can't catch up, I can't do this. So it's easier to go back into that house. You know, it's easier to go back. It's like a prisoner who comes out and everybody's looking at you like a loser. So, but once your identity issue, these are not tangible, it's a spiritual things. Once that identity issue is resolved, you're able to stand. Even if you have lost so many years, you're able to stand and move forward. I was telling this dad the other day when I was helping his son, and I told him one thing. Please forget the past. Just encourage and support your son. You don't know what that means for him. You don't know. Just telling him it is okay, it is in the past. Face forward and march.
You know, Orenge, you're mentioning something that I know many families are actually ailing. So you mentioned that you were just talking to this son, the father, and you know, just encouraging him to just work with his son.
Exactly.
To empathize with the son as well. And when we recorded the first episode, that was the audio episode, we can put the link here just in case you want to go back to that episode. There are many people who called in and even wrote and were saying, I have this person who has been rehab to rehab to rehab to rehab. And it's probably been 10 years, been 15 years. This is my son, this is my brother, this is my father, or my husband. So what I'm just trying to encourage, even as you listeners, people listening to this story, is for those who know that there's someone around you who's addicted, either is a recovering drug addict, or is has already come out of it. There's a likelihood that the recurrence, going back there, it might occur.
It might occur.
And I know it has happened to you. I think we were discussing with you earlier. That has happened.
Yes.
So how we deal with that going back, I think there's a certain word you use with addictions when you go back.
Well, like a relapse.
Yes, when you have the relapse. So for us who are surrounding that person, or who live with that person, who are engaging with that person, you've just mentioned one thing, that, you know, just give him time, encourage him,
support.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are other things that we could be able to do to help? Because I remember for me, in my situation with a close friend who for years was caught up in drug addiction through alcohol. One of the things that he lost was he lost his job, he lost his marriage, okay, and of course he lost that connection with his wife and children. And the people, you know, when you get lost, the people who actually really just come to your rescue are your family, your siblings, your parents. You know, your mom will always be there. You know, even when society is saying, how can he go back to mom and mom accepted her so many times? Your mom will always accept you. You know? And that's why even Solomon in his wisdom, you know, in Proverbs, talks about the way a foolish son brings grief and tears to the mother, you know, and shame to the father. So how can you encourage such people to live and to be able to encourage them to stick on?
You know, as I've mentioned, that before somebody got to where they are, there are particular factors that are unseen but heavily contributed to that. And even as a dad and mom, you too have an involvement in it, whether you like it or not. It's just that when you go through counseling and an understanding, you get to realize you didn't play this role well enough. So there was a void, and that void was filled by this. Okay. I think we just need to get to a point where we understand that it is not just the whole recovery process is for everyone. It is for everyone.
It's not for that person alone.
Yes.
It's for everybody.
It's for everybody because we all contributed some way or the other.
Wow.
And it's even more painful for him because he is the victim. And many a times people who get help, the worst thing is that there's already an anticipation at home from the family that this guy is going to go back. So you're already going into a setting
fringe of hope.
that is already saying that you're going to drink. We are just waiting. Why?
Not accepting that this person will turn around.
That there's a possibility.
Yeah, waiting for a relapse.
Yeah. So I normally even tell addiction centers, rehabs, that I feel it's very important that even before someone's child or parent, whoever is being admitted, goes in, there needs to be general counseling for everybody.
Okay.
For everybody. So it's not just him. It's for everybody. Because once people start understanding what addiction is, you're able to prepare an environment for this guy when he comes back home. An environment of support. Yeah. And even though he may slip, it doesn't mean he has failed. Because a lapse is just an indication that there's something unchecked. So we need to figure out what it is. But most of the times when you hear, and he comes back to the home and he smells of alcohol, I knew it. Now you've even pushed him back to the bar 100. He will go back.
Does that also aid in making him perceive that this is who I am? This is okay. So you have branded me as that alcoholic or that drug addict. So I accept it. And there's little effort that I can do to actually lift off from that identity. I think so what you're saying is that actually that even makes that person sink in deeper.
He'll go back to where he's accepted.
Okay. Wow.
He'll go back
to
where
he'll go back to those guys who accepted him.
Who accept him as he is.
Right.
Because I'll tell you guys one thing, that fighting substance use disorder is very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
You have no idea what somebody is coming back from. You're already fighting with your body desires.
Yeah.
Because you made your mind sick. You configured it. So your mind is also trying to lie to you so you can go down a particular path just for the end game of a drink. So it's already hard enough. And then you have to deal with the loss of time and opportunities. Then I also have to deal with you as my sibling. Wow. It's really hard. So we need to start applying some level of compassion. That, hey, this guy is in a worse situation. Yes, he has caused us this, but he is trying. Can we at least give him something?
Yeah. So as you're speaking, my mind is also just thinking about a conflicting position. Yeah. So supposing we've all accepted and said, okay, yeah, we'll journey together. I accept there'll be relapses. I accept that the issues will come back again and recur. What about that mindset of all of us who are around you are supporting you, but the work has to be done by the addict? Because I believe that's also another thing.
Yes. You have to.
The person who's going through this addiction needs to do some work.
Yes, you have to work the program.
You have to work the program.
You have to work the program.
Yeah. So how do you help them?
I think one of the problems, the thing you've said is that the support will come. But the problem with some of, if you're not clear, we have to state some things. Please let that support not be conditional. You can come and support someone with conditions because you expect, I am giving you support, so there should be this result.
Yes.
It should be unconditional. It should stem from
I'm spending
love.
this money.
Yes.
I've taken you to rehab.
Yes. Now I'm getting you a job.
Spending this time.
Now you're doing this. If you put conditions because you expect a result, a return that this person will work. It's even pressure. Even without you knowing it's pressure on this individual. It should be just out of love. I think people need to dig deep into who this person was before this. Remember that and just give unconditional support. Yeah. Because even from that, I believe God respects that love and works on your behalf.
For sure.
And supports this person. So for the individual, there's a lot of spiritual work to be done to confirm your identity. For me, bottom line, it's even all the programs from the 12-step program, it's all about aligning you back to God.
So there's a program that has 12 steps.
The 12-step program.
So what do you call this program?
It's a recovery program? It's a recovery program. It's been started by AA, by a gentleman called Dr. Bill.
Oh, okay.
Very good program.
Okay, so that's a normal generic program.
Yes,
for
that
drug
we
addiction.
yes, I believe it's offered in most centers, and if not, even though you opt for outpatient addiction counseling from the comfort of your home, you still have to do it. It's a good program because it sensitizes you of your spiritual flaws.
Okay.
You're awake to who you've become, and then you're awake to who you can be, and you're awake to who can get you there. And it's no mere human being, but God. So the thing I love about it is that it has no religious basis. So anybody can get help. Because if you come to a rehab and start saying Bwana Sifiwe, you're already blocked.
Sure.
As many people as who don't have a background in Christ.
Exactly.
Although I believe the rehab centers is the richest place to go and harvest people.
And we need to accept people
Yeah.
as they are. I mean, that's what Christ has called us to be.
Yes.
That he came to seek he came actually to save the sick.
The
and
sick.
The lost.
Yes.
All right. So for that pastor or that person or that man of God, then, or even the church representative, they end up now, making this person feel alienated.
Yeah.
But Orenge, I'd like us to turn this conversation. So everybody is asking, okay, so you look healthy. Of course, you look like you work the gym, and
I look like
you are actually. Yeah. I mean, from this way you walk, you command a presence, my friend. And I was even saying that your name and your body match each other. That
Orenge.
Orenge. That's the way your stature looks. Mugizi. Yeah, this is a Mundu strong. So you're a Mundu strong today.
Yeah.
Orenge. I'm sure 10, 15 years ago,
I was beat
you
down.
were a very different person.
Beat down.
Could you just tell us how life was like when you were going through this process or this season of addiction?
For many years, when you can't keep a job, because the addiction hit harder after university.
Okay.
Now the parents say, get out of the nest. Try and fly and you hit the ground hard because you realize, I didn't even realize it then, but you've carried an addiction. And society has normalized. I remember growing up. That's why I'm reading this book, because it helps clear the subconscious. Because one of the challenges with recovery is fighting the subconscious, is fighting the conscious. I grew up listening to Mbili Mbili Kama Kawaida, So even when I'm still sinking deeper, I'm still justifying I'm drinking responsibly. So evidence of losing jobs, So you find that you're not employed now. You can't pay rent. So
financial mismanagement.
It was crazy. And then now you find that the reality of who you're becoming is loud. And the question, how men will like to ask, what are you up to? It's an ego check. Are you winning? No, I'm losing. I can't keep a job. I'm not growing in career. So the voices in my head are very loud. How can I shut them up? So every day is an opportunity to use more substance, just to feel a little bit okay, to feel like it's okay. But it's not.
Normalize the number.
Yeah, because substance, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, always gives you a minus. It sinks you lower.
Okay.
Outwardly and even inwardly. It makes you sick, and even spiritually it takes you lower and lower and lower. So my days would be, especially Mondays. I hated Mondays.
Yeah.
Because you'd hear everybody going to work and you have no work to do. You're waking up with a withdrawal.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is that you still don't understand why you're having withdrawals, and the people you drank with over the weekend don't have. They've gone to work.
Okay.
So you obviously try and do things that are productive, but the reality of who you are is still staring at you in the face.
So for many years, that was who you
then
are.
you jump back into
10 years, 9 years. How long?
I mean, let's say 10 to 12 years.
10 to 12 years. Okay.
10 to 12 years of battling that cycle every day.
And you obviously had friends.
Yeah.
Did they tell you that you had a problem? Did they pinpoint, or were you in denial?
Many friends told me for quite some time that they told me that, Daniel, you have a problem with alcohol. You need to cut back. But you see, the thing is, you don't understand how somebody telling you have a problem, and that person himself is drinking.
Yeah, you guys have gone out, you've drunk together.
So somebody's telling you cut back, and you don't understand how,
Mm-hmm.
what is cutting back. So it becomes a project when you're drinking. So you're more concentrated on drinking responsibly than having a good time with your friends.
Yes.
But before you know it, you still go down the
you
same.
still go down the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I detached from many friends because of who I had become. I had no confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hate. People used to meet me and I had lost so much weight.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody would be like, what's going on? You know, it's evidence. I hated having to answer that question. So I withdrew.
Because what? You're not eating properly?
You can't eat properly. You can't eat properly. You'd have bitings, and whatever the most of the cash you get would go into substance. So I would chew the commonly known mogoka.
Yeah.
If I had money for a drink after, fine. If not, I'd smoke weed. And I'd call it a night. If I make some money here and there, I'd enjoy a drink. So that was my reality. So I lost a lot of weight. And so I had to isolate or withdraw to people who would not make too much noise about who I have become.
The acceptance group.
Yes. So I would withdraw into that. And some of these guys are my good friends, but they were younger than me. Some were still in school. So I was looking for a place where it would be okay to try and somewhere where I would not be looking, because men, we size each other up.
Yeah.
So I went into that hiding for quite some time. Even I didn't want to be at home because I was not happy with who I had become.
And I think also men reach a point where they don't like being held accountable. When they know that there's something that is ailing them, they are fearing the real questions and the hard questions. Okay, so you want to escape from that moment of truth where this revelation will be unearthed in you that actually, boy, you're going through something.
Yeah.
So we don't like that accountability. So we'd rather go to that acceptance group where there's no accountability and you've all accepted yourselves as this issue is ailing other people. It's not ailing me.
Yeah, and accountability should be. One of the reasons why maybe we don't like accountability is because we feel we should always be winning. Our ego doesn't want to accept failure, and rather that accountability should be a platform for us to continuously state our failures. I failed this week. I failed this week. Then you advise me. But we start shying away from that because we're like, I should not be failing. I should be succeeding. Then you go back to withdrawing and not telling people, and that even makes things worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so turning point.
Yeah.
At what point then did you realize that I need to seek help? Or did someone actually unearth that need? That you need to seek help? Because this is now 10, 12 years of being addicted. Yeah. You're rarely in the moment of sobriety. So what was the pivot point for you?
Addiction is really bad. There are times when I just, I have flashbacks. And as shared previously on my story, flashbacks of having to wake up in HDU.
In a hospital, HDU.
Not wondering. The last thing I remember, I was drinking in the house. How am I in HDU?
In a hospital.
In a hospital. And my dad is standing next to me. He was all the way in Kisii, he drove at night. How? And even the doctor himself would ask me, did you get a bonus? Why are you drinking so much? I would honestly think that I don't think anybody would drink that much unless they already have a problem. So even that doctor himself should have already identified that this is alcoholism.
Yeah.
So even after leaving hospital, your brain, I never used to understand that. I mean, I'd try and say, I'm not going to drink, I'm only going to chew. Cut. Big lie. Same night, by either hard liquor or strong beer. There was a strong beer, I think it was 9%, to deceive yourself. Before you know it, you're back in the same cycle. So for me, it's not even about how did I get to the point where I needed help. I didn't even know there was help. I was wondering, am I doomed to this life? Because there's a big gap between the sort of help you need and who you are, because the help that is defined there sounds like it's a place for crazy people, you know. And you could get to that crazy part, and people do get there unless it's an intervention. So for me, there was a longing desire in my heart that God would set me free.
Okay, that was there.
It was
Somewhere
always
deep
there.
in that.
There are times I said I would have a drink on Fridays in the house, and my wife always used to wonder, why can't this guy just drink slowly? And I'd have a bottle of gin. Fridays was my best day, of course, because everybody's drinking. You can camouflage in that. And I would go at night and I'd pray, go on my knees and tell God, I surrender. And then I'd go and take that bottle of gin and pour it in the toilet. Only to wake up in the morning to go and buy cheap alcohol. Regretting.
And the expensive one, you poured it out.
Poured it. So you wonder, is God really going to ever help me from this thing? I prayed. I've been praying. I've been on my knees, you know. But there's a process. There's institutions that offer the necessary, like hospitals do help. Yeah, you need to go to a hospital to get a diagnosis and get a sort of treatment plan. So there was such a disparity between where I was and the necessary help. And that's a gap that I feel a recovery champion comes in to demystify what rehabilitation is.
Yes.
Even they stop calling it rehab, they call it a treatment center. So why are we calling it a treatment center? So people can understand what makes you sick. You need to understand that you have been ingesting poison. It's not what the world has taught you to see, look at alcohol as the elixir of life.
Yes.
The thing that brings happiness. It doesn't. This is something that is put, not alcohol is put, is used in machines. They say, how much Coke can you drink and puke? To the point you'll say enough.
Yeah. There's a point that reaches.
Yes, you know, hear somebody saying, I have a Coke problem. It's alcohol.
It's alcohol.
And majority of us are addicted, but we are still in denial. We think we have control because we are functional, but there's a problem in society.
There's something that you say that was very interesting about identity, because when you are pouring out this expensive drink, and then in the morning you're waking up and you're feeling, no, I'm not my default self. I should have actually downloaded some alcohol and drank some alcohol to feel like my normal self.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a huge lie to many people going through addictions, because a point reaches where you accept and say, I know God will help me, but for now, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am. And you succumb to that identity. And that's where you find someone who wants to lift off from being a kleptomaniac, someone who's always stealing, stealing addiction. They'll find themselves always going back there because they're thinking, I've not stolen for the last 3 days.
I'm justified.
I need to justify it. That's not me. I need my normal self to come back. I'm not drunk for these days. I've not watched porn for a whole month.
Yes.
I'm
doing good.
Yeah, I've not slept with a woman.
Yes.
Even though I'm not married. Sexual addictions, for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
That's not me. I need to go back to my self.
Yes.
So that lie of identity, that false identity is what I feel like for you in the 12th year when now you decided to recognize that this is not me. I know God is going to heal me one day, but this is not my identity.
Yeah.
That seed that is inside you of recognizing that I am God's child and I have a purpose is what, for me, begins to be the healing process.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's what God resurrects. The true identity in you. Yeah. Slowly by slowly. Because there are moments of grace even through the addiction. There are moments of crying on my own. You know, we look at the addiction as a bad thing. Yes, but it was also a good thing because I had intimate prayers. The moments of crying, because that identity you have is world given. You are a drunkard. We like to label each other things. which is not good at all. But I feel everybody who is doing that is escaping from who they truly are. Person is a drunkard. So you find yourself accepting that identity.
Yeah.
But through that addiction, there were prayers, there were moments of prayer. I look at my Bible and I see, like in the book of Psalms, because I know morning there has to be a bit of praise and worship. So I'd do a bit of Psalms and I'd see a date I'd underlined and I was like, at this day, I was having an intimate moment with God because I was at my lowest. I was at my lowest and I was telling God, I am trying. Hear me out. The same thing you had said. There needs to be some work you need to do. You know, there needs to be something you do on your end. Because a friend of mine told me, this being helped or saved, salvation is also for the taking. It's for people who want it, who need it, who are desperate, you know.
It's a free gift.
It's a free gift.
The Bible puts it, it's a free gift.
So for a long time, I didn't ever think that moment would come. And I cannot even understand how it even came. But I feel it was very timely. God has a way, because God is a God of order. He had a way of putting things into place. That's the year I decided going to rehab is when I got my third born, my baby girl, Gianna.
How old is Gianna now?
Gianna is 3 years. She's the girl in between boys. And by the time I got Gianna, I remember even the first two, when we brought her home, 3 days later, I woke up in the house alone because my wife had to go with the babies to her mom's place. She wasn't staying too far away. Because I was going through one of those episodes of waking up, walking, not knowing who I am. It's like I was possessed. So out of fear of the children seeing me in that, so she would wake up and just carry the children and go. So when I woke up, I found my room in a mess. I wish I could have a video of that. I'm sure it must have been a spiritual warfare. Something going on. And I'm not even conscious of it. That's why I know there's a spiritual war. When, especially over lives of, it's like you're at the middle of death and life. God is still like, nope, not this one.
Waking up and you're saying this is where I slept.
I woke up and I was like, gosh. And even trying to tidy up my bed, my body is still like, we need a drink. I'm shaking. And I don't even know what day of the week it is, but I know I have to be working. How did I get into this stupor? So a few weeks later, I did my normal self-medication to try and be normal. This trend had started showing up also in the office because we were having December events. We had a garden. So people would lease out the garden, do their beer party. So I would show up, of course, yesterday. One beer gets me back into the same spot because my body is already doing everything. So it was already noted that there's a tendency with Daniel nowadays. He's the head of this and he's not showing up. Then there was a meeting I was meant to go for. I didn't show up. And my boss was like, enough. So by the time he summoned me, he told me something. And my younger sister told me, because she was in HR then, she told me that they had a meeting and they did not know whether the decision they were going to make, they were worried. Is letting Dan go going to plunge him deeper into addiction? Or will he get help? And I thank God for that they loved me enough to think of me like that. Some organizations will just tell you, they'll blame the behavior rather than trying to see that this person is sick. How can we help this person?
Look for replacement very quickly.
You just let that person go like this. You can imagine the disaster at home, what the children have to face. And I feel like organizations and corporates really need to go through trainings to understand these things so they can tackle it well. Because you fire somebody, you've just put them in a worse place.
Without understanding the deeper issues.
The deeper issues, yes. And sort of, because what he told me when I accepted I have a problem is that he told me that we're going to let you go. We have to let you go as a director. But if you get help, 3 months treatment. He was telling me these things like, I know you won't do it. 3 months treatment, we will consider.
Hey, that's a very gracious employer.
I believe, because when I hear the story later, he himself knew I was not going to do it. So I believe it was the work of God. That let's let him go with direction.
Yes.
And I feel, because even when you read the Bible, you see that the times God takes people to deserts, wilderness, where he goes to work on you. So I needed to be away somewhere.
Yes.
Because I remember my wife when I was telling my wife, I need to go to rehab. She's like, you can do programs. I'm like, no. I was ready.
Okay.
And I had thought of my children. I was like, really? And I feel like many men get to that junction where they need to make that decision. To make that decision. And it's not even a decision that is calculated.
Yeah.
It's a decision of faith.
Yeah, because it's not put together very well.
Yeah.
It's a faith thing. You
You
can't see
know
the
it's
light
gonna
in the end of
work.
the tunnel.
Yeah.
You don't know whether it's going to work. But I think one of the signs that I have seen from experience, not from experience of drug addiction, but from what I've observed, when God wants to work on you and when he wants to do something in your life, he will call you, and when he calls you, he'll separate you from the distraction. So number one, as you said, he separated you from the work.
Yes.
Because the work was not really an environment for you to go to work. It was facilitated.
Yes.
And then the second thing that he also does, he separates us from people so that he can be able to focus on you.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many characters in the Bible who were isolated so that they can meet God. And that God can be able to work on them, i.e., Abraham, Moses, spending 40 days in Mount Sinai, being downloaded all the commandments. Elijah, Paul on his way to Damascus, So I think that was you being taken out, from this workspace, and God preparing you for something great that we are seeing today.
I mean, just keep praying, because I know addicts pray. I know they pray. Some addicts don't even have like a religious background, but I know they know there's God somewhere. Keep praying. Prayer does work. Just don't put conditions on God as to when. Okay. Just know, if you can see me here, it will happen at his time. Because I remember walking to the road and I cried and I asked God, why have you given me such a burden? And as I was crying, I felt like a manly force telling me, chin up, face it, let's go. I remember lifting my head up and pushing my chest in front and saying, I'm going to do this.
So now the call was to go to rehab.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like us to take a pause over there. And
sure.
When we come back, we're going to hear the story of now how that rehab went.
Yeah.
And the build up to who we see today. I wish there was a before photo and after photo.
We can throw for them a few.
Yeah.
It's video.
Yeah. We can show them photos there.
Yes.